Hi, I'm Mark, and today on Outside Views, I want to talk about the, let's say, public argument between Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. Boris Johnson has not been an MP for a few days, but things are not going to get quiet for the British ex-Prime Minister, because he sharply attacks the current head of government. So the dispute between British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his predecessor Boris Johnson has escalated publicly. Boris Johnson asked me to do something I wasn't willing to do because I didn't think it was right. That's what Sunak said on Monday. In a reaction, Johnson again accused the incumbent Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak is talking nonsense. The occasion is honouring Johnson's confidants and employees, whom the Conservative politician wanted to appoint to the British House of Lords as a thank you for their loyalty. After the Holek committee in charge rejected some nominations, Johnson apparently wanted Sunak to veto the decision. It was about either overruling the Holek committee or making promises to people, Sunak said. Johnson, on the other hand, said Sunak should only have asked Holek to renew the review. It was a mere formality. According to media reports, it is about Johnson's confidant Nadine Dorries. Accordingly, the ex-Prime Minister wanted the former Culture Minister to be appointed to the House of Lords after the upcoming general election, which is expected to take place in autumn 2024. Holek rejected this with reference to valid deadlines, and Dorries resigned from Parliament with immediate effect on Friday, as did Johnson himself and MP Nigel Adams. And this means that by-elections are taking place in these constituencies amid poor poll numbers for the Tories. And those defeats that are expected should put Sunak under even more pressure. A Holek spokesman said a total of 8 of Johnson's proposals were rejected. Only 7 were accepted. The think tank Institute for Government spoke of an unprecedented rate here. But there's also criticism of those honoured who are entitled to a lifetime seat in the House of Lords. Among them is an ex-councillor to Johnson's wife, Sarah Vaughan Brown, who also walked the family dog, Dylan. It was also criticised that Charlotte Owen, who was born in 1993 and was once Johnson's advisor and is now the youngest member of the House of Lords in history, has hardly made any achievements that justify an appointment. And the ex-Prime Minister's withdrawal from the lower house is a challenge to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He is currently trying to stabilize his party after the days of chaos. The political time bomb is in the last paragraph of Boris Johnson's angry resignation as MP. He is very sad to be leaving Parliament, at least for the moment. And this is a thinly veiled challenge to his successor as Prime Minister, to Rishi Sunak. With this threat of a return of some kind, the ex-Prime Minister is throwing his Conservative Party back into the political chaos in which he left it when he forced his resignation as Prime Minister a good year ago. After the chaotic days of Johnson's Partygate scandals and Liz Truss' disastrous interlude at 10 Downing Street, Sunak managed to kind of calm his deeply divided party, which had been drained after 13 years of government, and thus stabilize the kingdom politically. The British, tired of crises and political chaos, have not yet thanked him, though. And May's local elections ended in a disaster for the Tories. In national opinion polls, the Conservatives trailed the opposition Labour Party by around 15 percentage points. And that's a bad omen for the next parliamentary elections, which have to take place in 18 months at the latest. With his populist instinct for moods, Johnson put his finger in this open wound. The Conservative majority in the country is at risk, and his party shouldn't be afraid of governing really conservative again, as he calls it. For the ex-Prime Minister, with Trump's overconfidence, that means more Brexit and fewer taxes. He condemned the trade deal for Northern Ireland recently agreed by Sunak with the EU, as well as the purgatory for all EU rules cancelled by the government in London. With his call for tax cuts, he is fueling widespread displeasure among many Tories at Chancellor Jeremy Hunt's strict budgetary discipline. Tory MPs have lost the most important argument they can use to persuade their disaffected voters to vote for them again in the coming elections with that. The only thing left to them is the naked fear for their seat in Parliament, which Johnson increased even more when he resigned. If the still popular ex-Prime Minister no longer dares to defend a narrow lead of a good 7,000 votes in his constituency, how bleak does it then look for the many less prominent Tory backbenchers? It is obvious that Johnson wanted to forestall his suspension with a furious attack on the Partygate Committee of Inquiry in Parliament. The indications and evidence that he must have known about the obvious violations of the corona rules and consequently lied to Parliament are indeed overwhelming. The fact that he nevertheless aggressively tackles the committee members, most of whom come from his own party, betrays his disregard for Parliament. And this disregard is unprecedented in British political culture, comparable only to the sweeping blows of Donald Trump. And like Trump, Johnson is now a political maverick whose ego has reached self-destructive proportions, both for himself and for the British Conservatives. Prime Minister Sunak will have to watch out for political snipers from the Johnson camp until election day. And it is quite possible that the Tories will allow the ex-Prime Minister to make a political comeback should Sunak lose the election next year. For Johnson, who is indeed in love with himself, that will probably just be further confirmation that he is following in the footsteps of his great role model Winston Churchill. The godfather of British politics famously managed to become Prime Minister twice. And that is something Boris Johnson definitely dreams about. But he's causing a lot of trouble at the moment, and so my famous soap opera will definitely continue. It would be so fun, but I always have to emphasize at this point that in reality, with all the politics happening, there are people's livelihoods at stake here. And in this morning video, you saw what happened to people who are already socially disadvantaged. And this fight in the Tory party and in government will not help them either. But I want to close this video with a little bit more of a fun side, because if you have ever seen the advert for Star Trek Fleet Command somewhere, you probably must have thought, if you like Star Trek at all, what is that about? Yeah, I'm not such an online gaming type, but if you ever wanted to know what it looks like, just have a look on the new channel Outside Views STFC. That's why the banner is up there all the time, because I still need some support from my viewers to continue that channel. You will see how it looks. You can get some insights if you ever were interested. So just have a peek view on this new channel. And if you're just interested in politics, the next video is right here in the end screen for you. I'll see you there. I'll be back.